That dunnage right there being up top like that keeps these straps here, not the X straps, but the 4-inch straps here from going in between this plastic, in between the barrels. Since these are, each skid has 4 individual barrels on it. You don't want that because that would just split the plastic, and then there's nothing holding the product onto the trailer. What's up, guys? It's eruditetrucking here with another video. I'm glad you guys tuned in because today is a very special day. Today is my very first day hauling a hazmat load. You guys are here for the ride. Let's get started. All right, guys. First hazmat load in my entire commercial driving history. What we got here is barrels of paint. Paint that's actually going to be used for industrial pipes. This load is going to Virginia, to a place that I've been to before. Actually, it's in Lynchburg. I've been there a bunch of times, well, a couple of times, but I've been through that area a bunch. And there's also like a Certainteed over there as well. They give out paper rolls, but we're going right around to that area. And let's take a look at what we got here. You can see here, it's paint barrels here. Now there's 12 skids on the trailer along each side for a total of 24 skids, and each one of these skids has 4 individual barrels on it, and they're shrink wrapped. So what I'm going to need to do to secure this is put 2 straps here across the back, and then 2 straps across the very front set of skids, and then it'll be a single individual strap on everything in between. And I need to use V-boards on this to hold everything in tight, but I don't have any V-boards. Had to give safety a call to see what I needed to do. Like I said, it's my first hazmat load, so I had a bunch of questions for him, and that was the first thing they asked me, is if I had V-boards. I don't, so what he told me I could do instead is use my dunnage as the V-boards, and that will hold it. I'll put the dunnage like in the middle of this, so I'll kind of have to throw my straps up first and like tighten them a little bit, and put the dunnage like somewhere in the center of the barrels, or push it up and then tighten the strap the rest of the way around it to hold it in place. So it's going to take a little bit extra time working around doing it that way, but that's fine, got to do it. So I have 12 pieces of dunnage. That should be more than enough to take care of this. TMC usually has the trucks going out with a standard of 10 pieces of dunnage, these 2x4s here, but I keep an extra 2 because it always comes in handy, especially when I have like loads of rebar that use a lot of my dunnage pieces. I can use the last few to make my bulkhead with. So as you can see here, it's at 12 skids along each side, 2 in the back there, and as you can see, the hazmat markings. So what I'm going to need to do after I secure this load is put my hazmat placards on there, and the customer gave me 4 of them as they're supposed to, and I'll show you here. This paint's flammable, so I have the correct placard. Here we go. Train coming. But as you can see here, class 3 flammable liquid. So this is a sticker. I'm gonna peel the tape off of the back of that. It's gonna go on here like that. And like I said, I got 4 of them. So to be DOT compliant, you have to put a sticker or a placard on each side. So it'll be 1 for the front, 1 on the driver's side, 1 on the rear of the trailer, or I'm sorry, the rear of the load, and then another 1 on the passenger side. And I don't necessarily want to stick, well, I don't want to put the sticker itself directly on the plastic. for one, this plastic is wet, and the second thing is there's always the risk with it just being exposed to the air that it could peel off and go flying off in the air while I'm driving down the road. And if I do that, then I'm up for a violation if DOT comes across me while I do not have the proper placards on the load, or if I missed any. So what I tried to do as a safety precaution, I asked for a couple of extra placards in case I ended up losing one down the road, and I don't anticipate that happening with what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put the placards on the metal here, and as you can see, there's 4 little holes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my bungees. I'm going to take some bungees, and I'm probably going to go right around close to the center of the truck, right around here for passengers, or the driver's side and the passenger side. And I'm going to take my bungees, put them through that little hole right there, and probably tie like 2 or 3 bungees together, put it underneath this plastic here if I can, and then tie the bungees to each other, so like wrapped around with the tension to hold those placards where they need to be. And I think that'll be pretty successful. So I'll go do that on all 4 sides. I want to try to keep it close to the center, so on this rear one I'll probably put it around here or here, but utilizing my same strategy with the bungees. We'll see if it works. I'm pretty sure that it will. I already talked it through with safety, and sounded like a pretty good idea to both of us. So let's go ahead and get strapped. Alright guys, here we are. It's about 3 hours later, maybe 3.5. Kind of lost track of time, but this load right here was definitely a lot of labor, more so than I was bargaining for, but we got it done. I may have mentioned before putting the dunnage on the sides to hold it in. That was incorrect. That would have been the thing if I had B-boards, but obviously you wouldn't be able to do that very well with just one person trying to lift 2x4s and get them to stay steady while you're trying to tighten them at the same time. That wouldn't have worked, but had to put them on top instead. That way, putting the dunnage on top, not counting this one right here in the front for the bulkhead, but up here at the top, you can see the dunnage. That dunnage right there being up top like that keeps these straps here, not the X straps, but the 4-inch straps here from going in between this plastic, in between the barrels, since these are, each skid has 4 individual barrels on it. You don't want that, because that would just split the plastic, and then there's nothing holding the product onto the trailer. It can freely fall off, and we definitely don't want that with any load, especially not a hazmat. But you can see down the length of the trailer, the dunnage on top, it's holding it steady. Here's my hazmat placards. They're clear and visible, and there's one on each side, one in the front, one on the driver's side, one in the rear of the trailer, and one on the passenger side. And those are just some key boards that I was actually able to find lying around. If only I'd had, what, maybe about 24 of those, I would have been able to do the whole trailer like that, but those went around. Not today. And I decided to X-strap the rear of the trailer as well. For added protection, I don't think that it's necessarily required, but you can never go wrong having extra securement on your load. There's never really too much. If it keeps the load down onto the trailer that much better, keeps it secure, it's not going to hurt you. It may just cost you a little bit more time, but I'd say it's more than worth it to make sure that you're safe and you don't have any accidents or load shifts. Plus you have peace of mind knowing that you did more than what was required, and what you did should be more than efficient or sufficient to take care of the needs for the load. You see, it's another placard. I was originally saying that I was going to try to put the placards behind the plastic that the barrels are wrapped in, and that wouldn't be a good idea, because then the placards aren't fully visible, and DOT would likely be able to pull me over and give me like some kind of infraction for that, since the placards wouldn't be 100% visible for anybody driving by, especially them. But I ended up using bungees and kind of using tension to hold the bungees steady. I'm gonna do my load checks and check on that really frequently to make sure that that stays where it needs to. We had one lone piece of dunnage right there that was not able to be used or was not necessary, which is fine. Here we go. Up here, I wasn't able to use winches all the way up here because we're still using that same trailer that I had a couple videos ago, where the winches only go up so far. It's the good old Benson. You gotta hate them. But that does it for the outside. The load is secure. Now I'm going to show you something else important that you need to do before you take off with any hazmat load. And you need to make sure that you do this 100% of the time. Okay? You need to make sure that you have your BOL right here. Your BOL needs to be able to be easily accessed in the event of an accident. If you're incapacitated, or if DOT or any emergency responder shows up to help clean up the mess that may have been made. Your BOL needs to be right here in the side pocket of your door frame. Your BOL with all the information for the hazmat load that you're hauling. And I think it would also be a good idea, if you have one of these, which you should if you're a hazmat hauler, your emergency response guidebook or your ERG book. This has all the information in it for the emergency responders to be able to deal with the particular type of load that was involved in the spill. And what I did with mine, I went through the book here and I went to the particular section here for my load, which is it's classified as a tar and a flammable liquid here. So I just went to the section in the guidebook for my specific load, and what I needed to do for that, you go to this blue section here for the name of the material. And what you had to do, I had to go to find mine in tars, as you can see that there, tars, and they're in alphabetical order. So in this blue section here, you just search for the T's. Okay, right here, as you can see that, it'll focus. It's not really focusing as well as I'd like it to, but right there, tars. It says tars and liquids. Tars and liquids. And then if you go up a little bit higher in the book, it'll have the guide number, so it'll be in this orange section, but it says 130, so that's what portion of the book it's in there. And if you look at here, it has the ID number of the hazmat, and in the book it says 199. That 190, or I'm sorry, not 199, 1999, and that is the same number that's on my placard. So that 130 number that I was mentioning, you go to page, you go to the portion in the book, in the orange book, it says guide 130. There's a couple pages in there for that, and I have it set to the first page, and it tells you, it tells you and the emergency responders that show up the proper way to manage the situation with the spill. Like, it tells you what protective clothing to wear. It tells you the evacuation strategy that you need to utilize. It tells you what ill health effects that you may suffer from having contact with the hazardous material, and it also tells you the dangers of the hazmat material. So this one right here, it's highly flammable. There are vapors, or it can have vapors, so clearly no smoking. You don't want to be around any fire with this load. And just a couple more. There's a ton of them. I'm not gonna read them all off, but let's see here. It says runoff into a sewer may cause a fire or an explosion, so it could be really bad if you spill this. I mean, there's a whole lot of other things that are on here that could happen if this happens to spill. Needless to say, you don't want any of those things happening. That's why you need to be on your P's and Q's when you're hauling hazmat. You know, you don't want to take it lightly. You know, it's not a joke. It's nothing to, you know, half-ass do when you're working. You know, you want to do it to the best of your ability every time. And if you're unsure about anything, you need to ask somebody who does know for sure, so that you can get it done the right way. But outside of that, we're pretty much ready. Just gonna do a couple things before I end up getting on the road. But before I forget, this is going right here where it needs to go, along with, I can put it here, my permit book. My permit book with all of my hazmat permits and all the other permits that are required for the vehicle and for its operation commercially. But like I said, right there, if anything happens, the information, the BOL, everything you need to know, right there. If you don't have it right there, DOT will likely write you up for that. If you get pulled in for an inspection or any other reason they ask to see your bills and they're not sitting right there or within the driver's reach, which I guess could be like, well, let's not muddy the water. Within the driver's reach, easily right there in your door pocket. Just leave it right there. Perfect spot. And these barrels were kind of wet and it was raining a little bit, so as a precaution, I asked the shipper for some extra placards in case the ones that I already have on the load come off. I got 4 extras, you know, 1 duplicate for each side of the truck in case anything happens. But I'm ready to go. I have about 6.5, maybe 7 hours to go once I start driving to get to Lynchburg, Virginia. That puts me there right around 11 something p.m. and I'm more likely than not going to try to drive that far tonight, you know, especially with tomorrow being Friday. I'm going to try to knock off the majority of the time, maybe get like 5 hours, 5.5, maybe 6. We'll see. I'm gonna have to see what the parking availability is going to be like on my way down there. I'll plan a parking spot before I go and then I'll head out. But let's go. I ended up driving till around 11:15 last night. The first place I had planned on parking at was completely filled up when I got there. So had to pull off to the side for a second, check out Trucker Path, see what other truck stops were around. I had a few picked out, but I wanted to pick one that I knew I would be able to park at for sure, because it was getting really late. I didn't want to stick out too long. I had plenty of hours. Like, I had 3.5 hours left on my clock, but I was not going to drive till like 1 a.m. There was no reason for that. So I ended up finding a place that was about 15 minutes away from where I was originally going to park. And fortunately, that place had a bunch of parking spaces left open. It was kind of like a mom and pop's truck stop. So keep that in mind when you're parking. I know like everybody likes to go to the mainstream truck stop, Pilot, Flying J, Loves, Petro. I mean, those spots can be good if you get there early enough. Like if you get there like as late at night as I was, most of those spots, if it's not a large truck stop with like 150 plus truck stops in it, most of those spots are going to be filled up if it has less parking spots than that. Fortunately, like if you look at Trucker Path, and also if your trucker GPS has it, which mine does, it'll tell you how many parking spots are in the truck stop. So you can kind of like get an estimate, or at least make a good guess or assumption on how many parking spots should be there, like depending on the time you get there. So as far as the load goes, here it is. Everything held up pretty well. So there were a couple of spots on some of these barrels where the plastic began to tear. So I had to put some tape on that to kind of like close that seal, because the plastic on all these barrels, on these skids, the plastic is the only thing keeping the drums all together. Like if the plastic completely tore down the middle, there was nothing holding it, I don't know how much good the V-board and the strap would do to keep it there. I mean, I have dunnage over top, kind of pressing down on the load on the outside barrels, so that might help, but still I want as much securement on this as possible. I wouldn't feel comfortable transporting this load if there was no plastic holding it, you know, and it's just like the straps and the V-boards. I don't think that would be too safe. In other news, woke up this morning, I did like multiple load checks. I did pretty much twice as many as I normally do. Normally, like, you do your first load check about 50 miles or an hour after you pick up the load, whichever one comes first. And then after that, you do a check, I believe, every 150 miles to 3 hours afterward, whichever one comes first on that. But I doubled that. So I did load checks every hour and a half when I was driving yesterday. Just because of the way this load is, the way that it's packaged with the plastic, and because of the placards that I had. The placards were just stickers. You know, I didn't have any coverings to really keep those secure, and it was raining all night while I was driving. So I did have an issue where one of my placards came off while I was driving, doing my load checks. I didn't notice it until I did, I'd say, my second load check. It had to have happened between my first and my second load check, because like I said, I checked it every time, and I was checking those placards more than I was checking anything else. I was paranoid about that, but one of them came off, and I happened to, like I said, I kept some extra ones. I actually ended up asking the shipper for 4 more placards before I left, just in the event that this happened, that I lost some along the road. So if you're ever hauling a hazmat load, before you leave the shipper, get at least a couple more placards. I mean, for me, I would prefer to have double the amount of placards. So if you have 4 placards that you have to have on the truck, I would ask them for 8. That way you have a replacement for each one if you happen to lose any of them, you know, at any time. But I replaced the one that fell off last night. I got to the truck stop, woke up this morning, and I see this. My front placard on the truck ripped off. The wind must have got underneath it, you know, mixed in with the rain. But right now this load is not DOT compliant until I put one of my extras on there, which is what I'm going to do while I'm doing my pre-trip. I'll put this on there and I'll put some tape around it to try to secure it. It should last, I'm sure it will, because I didn't have any issues with any of the other ones after I replaced that first one. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did, put extra tape on them. You know what I'm going to do, what I'm planning on doing the next time, maybe even this weekend, I'm going to go to Home Depot or Lowe's, or if I swing by a terminal or something, I'm going to ask them for some 2x4s. small 2x4 is small enough that will fit in this state pocket. And I believe state pocket is about 4 inches wide, 2.5 inches thick, I guess, here. So one that'll fit in there, and I'm gonna take a nail and I'm gonna nail through the placard and nail it to a 2x4 and then stick it right here in this state pocket here if I have a hazmat load again. That way I won't have to try to, you know, do this whole bungee rig setup that I did this time. I mean, fortunately this worked out great. The placards didn't move from the spots that I put them. You know, I ended up, you know, kind of tethering some bungees, you know, to hold them. I did that on the front, rear, and on the sides, and that held great. Like I said, none of those moved. They didn't go up or down. They stayed exactly where I left them. But the state pocket will be much more secure because, fortunately for this load, I didn't have to tarp it. If I'd had to tarp this load, I wouldn't have been able to have access to these straps to try to tether these placards to my load. I don't know what I would have done, because the shipper that I picked up from, I asked them, they didn't have any 2x4s that I could use, because I was planning on trying to do that yesterday. But unfortunately that didn't happen. But fortunately I didn't need it to happen. It wasn't something that would have put me in dire straits. Like I said, I was able to use my brain to figure out a way around it, which is what you need to do out here on the road sometimes. So stay calm, don't panic. You know, if you're faced with a situation, call your resources, talk to your safety manager, your dispatcher, whoever. Let them know what's going on, and then like see what they have to say, and then just think for yourself, what do you have access to? Fortunately, I keep taping the truck, you know, so I was able to put a little bit of extra tape on my placards to keep them on there, to keep the wind from blowing them off, and kind of fight against the rain a little bit. This tape is not waterproof, so I'm gonna purchase either some clear flex tape or some Gorilla tape, the clear kind, because I don't really like that this is standing out color like that. I don't know if that makes it not DOT compliant or not. I'm not sure, hopefully not, but I'm gonna get some clear tape. I tried to put the tape on so it wasn't covering up any of the wording, definitely not covering up any of the hazard information there. But yeah, I'm gonna do that this weekend. Get some tape, and along the way there's one other thing I mentioned yesterday with your BOLs and keeping your BOLs in your door pockets. Get in the truck here. Keeping your BOLs in your door pocket for DOT or first responders to see. The other caveat with that, in addition to keeping it in the door frame, you need to, let me grab it out here so I can show you guys. You need to have it, if you fold yours like I folded mine, that's fine, but you need to make sure that you fold it with the lettering of the BOL facing the outside. Don't fold it, if you choose to fold it, don't fold it like, see how mine's folded to the outside so that the words are on the outside. Don't fold yours. All right, don't fold yours like this, so you just see the outside, the back of the paper is white, you can't see anything. Paper has to be folded in a way that is immediately recognizable to whoever it is that picks it up and needs to see it. You know, otherwise you can get a DOT infraction if a DOT officer asks to see that, as from the information I was given. So make sure you do that. But other than that, I'll probably be getting on the road here maybe the next 20-30 minutes, and I think we'll be getting to the shipper, or I'm sorry, the consignee, in the next 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. So I think there's definitely 2 other shippers that are in nearby. The consignee that I'm delivering this load to also ships loads out through TMC, so maybe, hopefully, I'll pick up a load, my Friday load, from this same shipper / consignee, and then I can just head home from there, because it's about a 4-hour drive home after that. That would be preferable versus having to, you know, drive somewhere else and then go home after that. I'd like it to be a one-stop shop, one and done. So we'll see. Other than that, there's that certainty that's probably about 15 minutes away from there, so I could go there as well. I guess I'd be okay with that, you know. So we'll see what we have going here. Let's go. All right, guys, we made it. You know, we successfully got here. I showed up at the consignee, and usually it's a place where you can stage your truck and wait, but I got down there. I guess they have the staging yard occupied now with their product, some of that pipe that I was mentioning earlier that they ship out, so they don't let the drivers stay over there anymore. They have a separate staging lot, or this may be a lot that TMC pays for or rents or something, but they told me I had to go here. It was about a mile up the road, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So I'm sitting here now waiting for them to call me back so that I can go over there and get unloaded. Overall, this hazmat load wasn't bad. I mean, when I first got it, you know, I didn't feel nervous, but I saw hazmat on the screen, and I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, fine, it actually happened. I actually got a hazmat load after, you know, working with TMC for 2 years, you know, so it was like not daunting, but it was just more so like, okay, what do? I don't have a lot of experience, so but I asked the questions, you know, that I needed to, and I just took my time with everything. And of course, it took me longer than the loads that I do on a daily basis do. I mean, the time that I spent securing this load and somebody talking on the radio, the time that I spent, you know, checking on this load, crossing my T's, dotting my I's, and double checking, triple checking everything. I have not spent that much time dealing with one load since I was a rookie to flatbed driving. I mean, like, I think I was there at the shipper for like 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe. But overall, like, if I were to do this load again, it wouldn't take me nearly as much time, because now I know what to do for this specific time. You know, a lot of the load checks that I had to do for this one, I would do that part again, you know, doubling up on my load checks, just because of the way this stuff was packaged. You know, the shrink wrap, you know, maybe a little uneasy with it being wrapped around the barrels, but I didn't have any problems with that. It stayed intact, aside from those few little patches that I had to put tape over just to seal them tight again. But other than that, you know, this load was successfully picked up, secured, placarded, transported, and will soon be successfully delivered. So I can't really say that anything negative happened this entire time. You know, a couple of the placards came off, but I was prepared for that ahead of time. This is why I asked for extra placards before I left. You know, I figured just in case that happened, I would be covered. If I had left the shipper with just the 4 placards that they gave me when I walked away, I would have been screwed along the road. I don't know what I could have done. Like, I would have been hauling a hazmat load that was not fully placarded. So that would have been terrible. There were a few weigh stations that I had to pull through on my way up here. I didn't get pulled in for an inspection on any of them. Got the green light after they checked the weight on that, so I didn't have to be concerned with that. I mean, I was confident that I was hauling the load legally. You know, I had all my paperwork how I needed to have it, so I wasn't worried about that. I mean, I suppose if I had cared to, maybe I could have gone in there and tried to get them to inspect it if I had been daring or something like that. But shoot, if I had had a successful inspection on that, that probably would have been some extra money netted in my pocket. But it was late at night. You know, it was late at night, and I didn't, you know, feel like taking my chances. All right, guys, we're getting unloaded right now. I wasn't really able to record a whole lot of the process because I had to attend to other things while I was waiting. But let's see if we can get some of this right here in the mirror shot. Right there. Getting the barrel off. There's only like a couple barrels left right now. This is like the end of the process. So taking that off. I'll see if I can go outside to get the. Well, actually, no, I gotta stay in here while they're unloading and everything. But everything's going well so far. This load got taken care of, no problem. It's about 2:45. Got to pick up a load that's going kind of in the direction of home. It's like an hour and a half drive to go pick it up. Alright guys, I had to abruptly stop recording there for a second. Got interrupted for a second, but we're unloaded, and I have a pre-plan picking up about an hour away from here for my last load of the week. I just need to strap down. Camera almost blew over there. I just need to strap down my last piece of dunnage right there because it won't fit underneath the trailer. That's all filled up. But I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out and go ahead and pick up our next load. Like I said, it's an hour and a half from here, and then from there I have like 3 hours and some change to drive home. So I want to go ahead and get done, because aside from the drive time, I still got all the loading and secure time at the next place. So I don't want to linger around here for too long. But you guys made it to the end, my very first hazmat load, and it was a wonderful success. Wasn't stressful, it was great. So we'll see if we have another one in the future. But I guess I'll cut the video right there, guys. Erudite Trucking out.